All right. Mr. Stewart, good afternoon, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is David Stewart. My DOC number is 237579.
Sir, and counsel, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Amy Myers. Thank you.
And let me recognize your guests there with you. At Angola, we have your daughter, April Gunner, sister, Amy Tujak, and on Zoom, we have the Pearl Project, who's also in support. Did I miss somebody? Who else is there?
We have Miss Carol DeMuth. She was a backup speaker, but she was speaking today.
Carol. And Renee Giordano. Is she's not here?
I'm April's mother.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you all for coming. And here in opposition, we also have representing the district attorney's office, Mr. Randy Myers. Mr. Stewart, you're here today seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in Jefferson Parish, the 24th Judicial District. You were convicted or sentenced rather June of 2009 to a life sentence for first-degree robbery.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
correct, sir? It's correct information.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us, we want to get your statement first before we hear from your family members. Tell us what got you to serving a life sentence in prison, and why do you believe we should vote favorably for you today?
Yes, ma'am. I was first would like to thank the board for giving me a hearing. And I was self-employed for several years prior to this conviction. I had a construction and remodeling business. And basically, during the times I've noticed in the last few years prior to this, from the times of like November to January, my business would go down, would slack up, whether it was, holidays coming or something, my business would slack up. In the past, I would do other unsavory things to try. I had 11 men working for me at that time. I was bonded and insured. I was a member of the Better Business Bureau with my business. And during those months, things would just go bad financially. My nephew was working with me, my sister's son, he was working with me. We was both at the time I had started gambling. My financials was bad, and I was panicking. I was in dire straits, and I did work at this business, and I felt I needed to do something, and we robbed this place. My nephew, in my mind, I figured that, it's not as bad. My nephew said, Uncle Dave, I got a BB gun. And my twisted mind and thinking of that time, that distorted thinking, that I tried to justify that, okay, well, it's a BB gun. No one's going to get hurt. And it was terrible. It was terrible that I allowed my nephew to even be a part of any of this. I was his uncle. I was a role model. He looked up to me all his life, though I still allowed him to even participate in this. If I thought it was something that I was going to do that, I had no business even involving that boy. He was a young man.
And the reason you serve a life sentence is because you're redeemed an habitual offender for other, you're a fifth offender.
Yes,
right?
ma'am. I do have other priors. I was selling drugs. I sold drugs a lot during my life. I worked with some very unsavory people. I've been doing drugs since I'm 16 years old. That's no excuse. I choose the people I choose in life. I chose the wrong choice.
Okay, well, tell us what you've been doing, what you've been doing since you've been in jail that would,
Since I became incarcerated, when I first got, I had 25-year sentence, and I was at Cottonport. And then a year later, they took me back and billed me under a habitual offender bill. and they gave me a life sentence and sent me to Angola. Since arriving at Angola, which I know you hear people, you come to prison and you get God, and then you leave prison and you don't get God. I know. But in 2009, I came to Angola, June 29, 2009. I did turn my life over to God. I changed. I became the man that I should have been at the age of 43. Like I said, the responsibility, the things that I allowed my nephew to do, he took it upon himself. And by me telling that boy, giving him the the things to do that, he went on and to do other things without me, and that's my responsibility. But since arriving in Angola, I know you hear that people have changed; they're not that same person anymore. I gave my life to God. At that time, I started taking programs to better myself. Um, I enrolled in a Bible college. I became an inmate tutor, got my bachelor's and associate's degree. Like again, you hear that people's not that person when they come. I know you always hear that, but I'm not that addicted, self-centered person I once was. It wasn't until I came to Angola and got the programs. I was in prison 2 other times of my prior offenses. And obviously I did 24 months in federal prison for cocaine, and I did 30 months in state prison. And just obviously that wasn't enough time. They didn't have programs. They didn't have that Angola did offer me, the anger management, the things I was able to better myself with. And today I'm not that man, that addictive, self-centered person. I felt the world owed me something. The world didn't owe me nothing, but I only was able to learn that through the programs. Anger management. I had anger issues all my life. I didn't realize it, but it wasn't until I took the programs here that was offered to me at Angola that I was be able to realize that the person I was. Um, Taking the courses I took at Bible college as a student and now as a tutor, I was able to learn. I came to Angola at 43 with a life sentence. I didn't know about coping skills. I didn't know about conflict, man. I didn't know how to grief. I had grief. I didn't know how to apply those things to my life until I took the programs I did take here. And I feel that the other time wasn't enough. If you look at my record and you was to ask me, well, why should we let somebody out like you? And I would look, if I was a person, I would look and I'd say, this person, no, he doesn't deserve to be out. Look, he has not stopped reoffending. And that's how I would look. But until I became the person I am now, I understand that. And that's why I feel that I have the coping mechanism that I didn't know was available, I didn't know existed. I didn't learn it till I was 43 years old when I came to Angola and utilized. You can come to prison, you can either be a better man or a worse man. I've learned there's no gray area, there's no middle. Either you can become a better man or a worse person. And I just chose to be a better man and try to use everything that these people offered me to become that person that I am today.
Well, we'll have some questions for you shortly. Warden Benoit, is there anything you can add about Mr. Stewart?
He's a B class trustee. He is an NOBTS tutor. As he said, he's graduated from NOBTS. He's only had 7 DB reports since he's been here. In addition to NOBTS, he's had 100 hours, graphic communication, and anger management. His tire score is low. He's no problem to us.
Good, thank you. Let's hear from your family. First, we'd like to hear from your daughter, April. We'd just like to know what you would like us to know.
Okay.
My name's April Gardner. I'm the daughter of David Stewart. I'm 32 years old. I've been selling cars for about a year now. I have two of David's grandchildren. I have a 12-year-old boy named KJ and a 10-year-old named Cashton, who which they really wanted to be here. But I know that we had an age limit, and I just, really needed to respect that for you all. I do raise them solely by myself. We all, try our best to come here as often as we can to see my dad. And I know that he's made a lot of mistakes in his life.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Take your time.
We really, like,
All right, I tell you what, while you collect yourself, if you can, let's hear from David's sister, Miss Amy Tujak.
I'm impressed that you said my name correctly, by the way. I'm Amy Tujak. I'm David's sister. I'm not his biological sister. But he lived in my home off and on for as long as I can remember until my parents eventually did have custody of him. I work for the Army Corps of Engineers. I've been there 24 years. I'm a supervisory production manager, and I'm a liaison for the Corps with other federal agencies, Congress, and the White House. And I know that sounds great, but but David is a big reason for that in my life. When he talked just now, what ran through my brain was he never saw the good person that he had inside himself. He just always saw the bad part. And he's got such a good part. And there's just some things that have happened to him. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. I have known him my whole life. I don't remember life without him. He is one of 4 children. He's the third. His mom had mental health issues. And I don't really, other than who his biological father was, I don't know what her problem was with David. She had a daughter my age, and then she had David, who was 7 years older. But she would ask for David to come spend the night at my house with my family, and he would come spend the night, just him. And then she would do it again, and she'll even say 3 days, and then she just wouldn't show up a week, a month, 3 months. My dad put him in Little League, and she'd take him back. And then at some point, just David, she put him in foster care. My mom tried to try to get custody, and she blocked it. And eventually my mom and dad were able to get him after she tried to block it. But I watched him in his home, and he was an outcast in his own home, and he just never loved himself. But he was wonderful with me. He always protected me, and he always took care of me. And that was just something I depended upon and needed. The last time he was home, he did have an established business. He was doing great. I was proud of him because he had turned his life around, and but a lot of things did happen that he helped everybody in the family through, and I know it hurt him financially. I didn't realize how bad it was. But in 2004, our mom died, and that was October, and then Katrina happened. But before Katrina, he moved in with my dad to take care of my dad because I wasn't living in town. And so after my mom died, he took care of my dad, and to help me move, he came to my house and he painted it for me for free. And then we were supposed to move the weekend of Katrina. We couldn't, so we all evacuated to my aunt's house, who's online. And then he came back to make sure that the house that we had was safe for me and my family, and my sister and our sister and her family, and him and my dad. And we all came back. And then he went to back to my aunt's house just to paint her house to help her because she had helped us. It was just this back and forth thing where he just kept helping everybody. He felt very responsible for my dad. And he stayed there and he took care of him. And I eventually moved in back in town into a house that I could afford, but it was in shambles from the storm. So he came and fixed it up for me for free and paid the whole thing for free just so I could be back there. And the whole time he was taking care of my dad. And that's just the kind of person he was for us, the kind of person I saw. He has kept a relationship with me, my children. One of my children wasn't even born. She was born in 2010. He sent presents. They have visited him here. And he's just made sure he knew exactly what was going on and talked to them and has been a part and supported me. And I really need him to support me. Our dad died in 2020, and then our little sister last year. And I would like to have him home. I feel very alone, and there's just something different, you know. He has this attitude that's just so different. It's, you know, I know what I want, and if I don't get it, that's okay. It's what God wants for me. And that wasn't David before. It's a big change.
Well, we appreciate you sharing all that with us. We do.
All right, thank you.
All right. Mr. Blake with the Parole Project.
Good afternoon to this honorable board. Channing Blake with Louisiana Parole Project, appearing on behalf of Mr. David Stewart. Because of his programming and his classes, him attending church weekly, him achieving a bachelor's degree, being an inmate tutor, and amongst other things, he's actually been accepted into our program. If the board deems it necessary to give him a favorable recommendation, we're going to give him transitional housing. We're going to help him with employment assistance. We're going to also do consumer skills and many other programs that we have here at the Parole Project. So based upon his rehabilitation and his strong support system, we ask that you grant him a favorable vote today. Thank you.
Thank you. Myers, we'd like to hear your presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. It's my privilege to have gotten to know David over the last 4.5 years. I don't take it lightly who I work with. Like Parole Project, I'm very picky, and David was an easy choice for me. David was not over-sentenced. When I included in his packet that he cannot get the sentence that he got today, I was hoping that the board would see that as just a mere factor in the consideration of whether he is worthy for a commutation. David does have a long rap sheet, it's true, and whatever questions you have about any prior incidents, arrests, anything, you'll get an honest answer from this man, and I really hope that you do ask him more questions. Years ago, David told me that he was under the misguided belief when he first got to Angola that he was hard done by. The fact that Corey, who was the person who went inside the Tasty Donuts with the BB gun, got 6 years and David got life, made David feel back at the beginning of his sentence that he was wronged. That is not how David views this today. He knows what he did to mislead Corey, and he understands that his life sentence was a product of a pattern of offending that had to be addressed. He needed to be stopped in his tracks in a serious way, and this 18-year sentence has done that. David's talked to me about addiction being a lifelong affliction, and that it's not something that one can just go and do, celebrate recovery and then you're done. He understands that recovery is part of daily life forever. I found David to be consistent and dependable, as has Dr. Sharkey at the Bible College. And Dr. Sharkey gave me a letter a couple of days ago that said, Mr. Stewart was not only an excellent student, but is a man of character. He consistently demonstrates leadership ability and personal sacrifice in the pursuit of helping others achieve their goals. I pray that you'll ask more questions and consider David's remarkable transformation. And it's really been an honor to bring you such a worthy candidate today. Thank you for the chance to speak.
Mr. Myers, we'd like to hear from the DA's office, please.
Good afternoon, Randall Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. First, I'd like to say I'm glad Mr. Blake was here today. If Carrie would have been here, there'd been too many Myers. We would have been all confused. On Mr. Stewart's case, I had concerns with him because I thought his application and the account of the offense was not an honest representation of what occurred. His statement today, though, I think is an honest representation of what occurred. And that's a big difference for me. Looking through his record, I see it says in his annual assessment that he needs the 12-step program. And I agree with what Ms. Myers just said about addiction being a lifelong daily event that you have to deal with, that you have to work on every day. I think a long-term, like I do often, I think a long-term substance abuse program would be beneficial to him. The victim in this case is deceased. The employee of the store, the Tasty Donuts, is deceased, unrelated to this incident, to this crime. The owner originally was opposed to his request, but after watching cases on YouTube, and she was kind of going back and forth with it anyway, because she knew Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stewart had done work for him. She is no longer opposed to his request, but would like, if he is ever released, to have no contact with her employees, or her business, which she still owns, that Tasty Donut Shop. And we would concur in that. So, based on everything that he has done while Mr. Stewart has done while he's been incarcerated, and most particularly the change in his account of the offense, we would not be opposed to a commutation to, I was looking at something like a 40-year sentence with parole eligibility after a time period to let him get a long-term substance abuse program completed, and then no contact eventually with the victims as the victim has recommended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. All right, Mr. Stewart, your case was assigned to Mr. Freeman. Would you answer his questions?
Okay, Stewart, first off, I'm gonna disappoint your attorney because I'm not gonna ask you a lot of questions. I think you were very honest today, very forthcoming. Like Mr. Myers just stated, when I read your application, I was like, man, he's trying to push this all off on his nephew. But you sat here today, you took full responsibility. My only question I was gonna ask, what was the longest period you ever served in prison, which was 30 months? And, sometimes it takes something like this to get our attention. I mean, we don't grant a whole lot of fifth felony offenders. But I think you've done everything. You've taken great classes. You took care of the gravely ill, which I think is great. And I'm gonna vote at my time, but as you can see, I'm very proud of the accomplishments you've made since you've been in prison.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Any other questions? All right. I don't see any other questions, Mr. Stewart. So I think we're prepared to vote. Mr. Freeman.
Okay, Mr. Stewart, my recommendation today that we commute your sentence to 30 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Teller.
I concur with Mr. Freeman. Commutation of sentence 30 years, immediate.
Mrs. Stapleton.
I concur with Mr. Tillis, and also I would put as a stipulation, I recommend a long-term DOC approved substance abuse program.
Mr. Prater.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. I concur with Mr. Freeman. And I just asked him about the long-term substance abuse, and he said we would deal with that at the parole hearing. So that straightens that out. So my vote is to recommend to the governor that we commute it to a 30-year sentence with immediate parole eligibility. And we'll deal with the long-term substance abuse at a parole hearing. Should that happen.
All right, Mr. Stewart. You got the vote you needed. I do concur with my colleagues based on the hard work that you've done, the support of your family, the fact that the victim has changed her opinion, no opposition. So we're going to make that recommendation on your behalf. Good luck to you,
Thank you.
sir.
And,
Thank you for-
Martin, if possible, if we can get him into that long term before his parole hearing, it would be great, but I know that's hard.
We'll be
So-
working on that.
I'll sign up
We'll make
for
it
it.
happen.
I'll sign up for it as soon as I can. Thank you
Thank
for hearing me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Board.
Warden, that concludes our business at your facility. We're going to move on and sign off at 1:11. Thanks so much.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Warden.